I used to work in a hospital. I took care of the patients there. One day, a person was brought in the hospital. He had an accident while he was riding a motorcycle. He looked like he was in his early 30s. Both his legs were broken. Doctors even said that it was very difficult for him to walk in the future. He was in such a bad shape that he used to make all sorts of weird noises while breathing. But he was very polite and was always nice to everyone around him. I used to go there every 12 hours to give him his medication. Every time I went there, he would crack jokes and make everyone laugh around him. After a few days, he suddenly went silent. Everyone thought it might be because of his condition and the pain he was in. His behavior started changing gradually. From the person who was always good to the people, he became disrespectful and rude. He started to shout and curse people for no reason. One night at around 1 a.m., I went to give him his medicine. I tried to wake him up, but he was deep asleep. After trying for several times, when he didn't wake up, I was scared. I immediately checked his breath. It was normal. I checked his pulse. His heart was racing, but he was not responding to anything. When I tried to touch him, out of nowhere he woke up and his head directly turned towards me in an abnormal way. He said, "Don't touch me, boy," in an angry voice. His voice sounded completely different. He was not sounding like himself at all. I nervously said, "It's time for your medicine," to which he responded, "I'm a 90-year-old man. I can take care of myself." He was still holding my hand tightly while staring into my eyes angrily. I didn't understand how to react. My heart was racing so fast that it literally felt that it was going to come out of my chest. I pulled my hand and kept the medicines on the table and immediately rushed out of there. I didn't understand what just happened. I was asking myself, what happened to his voice? Why did he say he was an old man? As I was sitting, the same things were running through my mind again and again. It wasn't making any sense. After a few seconds, I heard loud screams when I immediately charged towards the sound. I saw the staff and even some patients running away. They were all running away from the same room where that person was hospitalized. I rushed towards that room and I stopped a few feet away from the door. It has become completely silent now, and suddenly I heard someone scratching the door. After a while, when it stopped, I entered the room, and to my shock, the same person who wasn't even able to move by himself was now standing like nothing ever happened to him. I asked him to immediately get to the bed as he needed rest, but he didn't respond. I repeated the same thing, but in a more firm voice, to which he turned his head sharply towards me. When I noticed his hand, I saw that his fingernails were not there. It was maybe because of all the scratching. He was looking very evil, and his face was covered with blood. He started shouting at me to immediately get out of there. His voice sounded very sinister. He wasn't even sounding human anymore. When I slowly started moving towards him, he violently started scratching his own face to the point where chunks of flesh started coming out. I immediately wanted to throw up, but when I ran towards him to stop him, he pushed me so hard that I landed a few feet away from him. I couldn't get up, and I couldn't even move for a few seconds. As I was trying to get up, he literally started levitating and started screaming on top of his lungs. It was so loud that it was impossible for human to scream that loud. After that, he immediately fell on the ground and passed out. The next morning when he woke up, he was completely normal. I was very relieved. When asked about last night, he said he had no memory of it. But to this day, I have nightmares about that night.